Hello and welcome, my name is BetaRho, and this is Introducing the Gods. This week we look at Ao Kuang, the Chinese Dragon King of the Eastern Seas. As you can see, Ao Kuang is one of a handful of non-humanoid gods in SMITE. As one of 4 Dragon Kings, Ao Kuang was the arbiter of the Eastern Seas of China. When he was sufficiently honored through tributes, the people would receive plentiful rain and calm seas for farming and fishing. But if the tribute wasn't adequate, Ao Kuang would conjure up storms and tsunamis to remind the people who control the elements. But his power wasn't unlimited. Monkey god Sun Wukong took a powerful weapon from Ao Kuang, and then demanded the Dragon King give him even more supplies for Wukong's journey to the west. Ao Kuang's pride makes him fearsome, as he still desires to show his true power. In the game, Ao Kuang is a ranged mage, and his stats are fairly representative of that category. He does have one of the lowest base health pools in the game, and he never truly makes up for that inherent squishiness without the benefit of item buys. He is also among the slowest gods in the game, something one of his abilities directly addresses. Ao Kuang's passive is Graceful Winds, which increases his magical power by 5% of his maximum mana pool. Because of this passive, he is currently the only god who will have additional magic power right off the start of the game, before any item buys. It also means that when you buy items, granting additional mana also grants a small amount of magical power. His first ability is Squall, which is a ranged burst damage skill shot. It does a solid amount of damage, with a base of 60, increasing by 45 each level, and adds 60% of your magical power. The damage does have a small area of effect upon hitting, so it can be worthwhile to fire at an enemy god kiting through minions. It also applies a slow to all enemies within the area of effect, making it a strong chasing tool. It has a flat 7-second cooldown, and I unlock it and level it second. Ao Kuang's second ability is Slither, which is a pure movement speed buff. It adds a percentage of speed for 4 seconds, starting at 15%, and adding an additional 4% for level. On top of the base increase, Ao Kuang can add an additional 6% of movement speed if he uses the ability while within 20 feet of an enemy god. He also gains a base of 2% speed if he's near a minion, and adds an additional 1% per minion, up to that same 6%. That's a whole lot of numbers, but the bottom line is he can go fairly fast for 4 seconds with the ability. It has a 15-second cooldown, and I unlock it third and level it last. His third ability is Tornadoes, a damaging attack that Ao Kuang places at a ground location. This ability is his bread and butter, and will account for most of the damage you deal throughout the course of the game. Any enemy that enters the ground target will be hit by a tornado, which does damage every half second for 3 seconds. It does a base of 10 damage, increasing by 10 each level, and adds 15% of your magical power. The damage will still tick once the enemy leaves the area, meaning they will get hit at least 6 times. Meaning the attack really does a base of 60 damage, increasing by 60 each level, and adding 90% of your magical power. It can hit more than 6 times if they stay in the area of effect for more than a half second. It has a reducing cooldown from 15 seconds to 11, and I unlock it and level it first. Ao Kuang's ultimate ability is Spirit's Tempest. Ao Kuang lays a path down in front of him, calling in a dragon that damages and knocks back enemies in its path. It's a feast or famine ability though. Enemies can see the dragon coming in, so it's fairly avoidable. But if it hits, it's devastating, doing a base of 400 damage, increasing by 100 each level, and adding 120% of your magical power. Using it in an area where enemies have a tougher time avoiding it, like the jungle, increases the ability's utility. It has a flat 90-second cooldown, and I level it whenever I have the chance. When building Ao Kuang, 2 big things to keep in mind are his low starting health pool and his passive, which grants power based on mana. Because Ao Kuang is so often your mid lane god when he's in a game, these items are more tailored to that role. If you do take him to a side lane, the order of the items may end up being different. I begin with Boots of the Magi, and while Spear of the Magus is often the first item for mid, I find that the speed and the additional power from mana with Boots provides a slightly bigger benefit to Ao. My next 2 items are items that I feel are designed for Ao Kuang. First is the Warlock Sash, an item that I feel is criminally underutilized by mages. Because you do not lose its stacks after death, and because Ao Kuang is one of the best lane cleaners in the game, you should have 80 stacks for most of the game. And with 80 stacks, it grants 90 magical power, 460 health, and 560 mana. And because of Ao's passive, it grants an additional 28 magical power from mana for a total of 118 magical power. My next item is Gem of Isolation, another item seemingly tailor-made for Ao Kuang. It adds solid damage, health, and mana, plus a slow that is applied when an ability damages an enemy. Because of that, your tornadoes become an incredible source of crowd control. Next is the Polynomicon, for more power and mana, plus lifesteal and a strong passive ability. Then the Obsidian Shard, to make your magical power hit quite a bit harder. My final item is the Rod of Tahuti, to capitalize even more on the power you've built. Some alternate items that I regularly use, in addition to the Spear of the Magus I mentioned earlier, are the Void Stone for magical protection plus a ranged debuff, and the Chronos Pendant for an incredible amount of mana regen, plus a cooldown reduction that is very strong in Ao Kuang's tornadoes. Because two of Ao Kuang's abilities can be somewhat easily avoided, he's not the easiest mage to play in Smite, but what he does offer is a surprising amount of utility in teamfights. While his tornadoes and ultimate may not always hit, they do dictate enemy movement. And when they do hit, they are true game changers, bursting and bleeding enemies into oblivion. A good Ao Kuang is one who can optimize his ability placement and knows how to correctly lead their opponents. Once these skills are mastered, Ao Kuang will make it rain damage. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe for weekly episodes of Introducing the Gods. If you have a request for a god to see sooner rather than later, leave it in the comments below. And to see past episodes of Introducing the Gods, click through to the Pantheons now. Again, thanks for watching.